Good morning, stargazers. This is the February 2021 horoscope. I am Miss Jenny, and I am your astrologer. So this month we have an impressive array of planets lined up in Aquarius covering the sky. While this is happening, Uranus, its natural ruler, is also in square aspect to those planets, presenting a very dynamic picture of what to expect in terms of energy, motivations, impetuses, and events and circumstances this month. Because of the heavy influence of Aquarius and Uranus, do be prepared for some unexpected surprises along the way. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to alarm anyone. This is very different from the unexpected surprises we've been dealing with in the US for the last 4 years. Those were not really unexpected, depending on how dark your imagination could go. In this particular case, these are unexpected surprises, more along the lines of the GameStop controversy that just happened yesterday, because today is the 29th. Now, also just a little caveat I just want to share with you guys. I have literally remade this video four times in the last 2 weeks, and this is my 5th attempt, and hopefully my final attempt. So a lot of what I'm saying to you in this video, I was saying a week ago, but I couldn't quite get the video process together. So here's to February and the goddess rising, and let's get started. Okay, let's try and get through this as quickly and painlessly as possible. So this is a very, very high energy month, and this is largely because we've got such a huge panoply of planets in Aquarius. Now, we just went through a similar thing where we had an entire train of planets in Capricorn not a little while ago, but it went by pretty peacefully, right? It was a very low key affair. So you might be wondering, like, what on earth is the difference? Well, the difference is this: Aquarius rules energy, right? Among other things. And while Capricorn, its signature vibe is very thorough and consistent and planned and organized, right? And very even keel. Like, you don't see a lot of Capricorns losing their, like, all over the place. They tend to manage their time and their energy like they manage their resources, with very, very deliberate thinking and planning. I mean, they will occasionally lose their temper, but that's not the same thing as, Aquarius, which is kind of like, So this month, with this heavy emphasis on Uranus and Aquarius, we got some stuff going on, and this is all energy. So before we get into the month, let me give you a little astrology lesson, okay? So when you look at the sign of Aquarius, what you'll see is it's the sign of the water bearer. So it is somebody holding the vase of water, pouring water into the stream with one foot in the stream, right? And you see those little double squiggly lines, right? Those little wavy lines, those double wavy lines that are representative of Aquarius. So here's what you should know about what you're looking at, what they mean. So the first thing is those little double squiggly lines that you see as the symbol for Aquarius. It's not water. Those double squiggly lines are electricity or energy or air, right? Because Aquarius has rulership all three of those things. So Uranus rules electricity. Aquarius rules air, where Capricorn is the mountain. Aquarius is the mountain air above it, okay? And both of these things are energy. Now, with the air in particular, this is energetic air. So when we talk about Aquarius and air, we're not talking about, lovely, soft, gentle breezes. We're not talking about that. With Aquarius, when we talk about air, we're talking about energetic air. So we're talking about cyclones, tornadoes, hurricanes, gale winds, right? These 120 mile an hour gusts of wind. That's what we're talking about when we talk about Aquarius. So all of these things are very high energy, unpredictable, not consistent, not, even keel level sort of energies. And we've got this going on all month. And also, Aquarius rules the populace. So where Gemini rules the common man, right? The people in the hood, in their immediate communities. Aquarius rules the global neighborhood. So it is the populace, meaning all of humanity. That's where we get the sign of humanitarian. And this is, we're going to see play out this month as very key and important detail as well. And For an example of what that might look like, today is the January 29th, and just yesterday there was a huge controversy with GameStop and gamers on the internet giving Wall Street the spanking that it deserves and has been long overdue for. So that is an example of Aquarius ruling the populace, right? And the force and strength they bring to bear on situations when it comes to matters of reckoning, which, so you know, is also the theme this month. This is a time of reckoning. It is a time of accountability, Saturn, and inconvenient truths, Uranus. Saturn and Uranus will be in a hard aspect to each other all month. They're both rulers for Aquarius. Saturn is the ancient, Uranus is, lipstick. Uranus is the modern ruler. Together and in hard aspect, they are bringing to the forefront a time of reckoning. So keep those things in mind. Now let's get back to our symbology. Sorry, I literally been trying to put this video together like 5 times in 2 weeks, and it's been like this, like all over the place. And this is the good version. Okay. So we know now that those wavy, squiggly lines that are the symbol of Aquarius, it's not water, that's electricity or energy or air or all three, energy and electricity, or air and electricity. Also, with the water bearer, right? So that water, that stream that you see the water bearer with their foot in and pouring water into, that stream represents the stream of consciousness that we all share and draw from. The water bearer's foot inside the water symbolizes their humanity or their humanness. So they are not so detached from the stream of consciousness that we all share as part of humanity that they have no participation in it. So they're still part of that and in touch with that. The jug where they're pouring water into the stream, this is a jug of knowledge. So what they're offering to the stream of consciousness as part of their evolutionary path in this lifetime has to do with giving knowledge, or offering knowledge to the stream of consciousness or the masses. So Aquarius is the sign of knowledge, right? Which is very different from the knowledge seeking we see in Sagittarius, okay, or Gemini. Every sign has a different little thing. With Aquarius, it's about, the higher evolution of things, the bigger picture meta knowledge, right? And also, in case you didn't know, Saturn and Uranus, while they're both co-rulers of Aquarius, ancient and modern, Saturn and Uranus together also represent science, right? Because because Saturn is a very show me the data. Like, I'm not going to believe it just because you're telling me this. This is, what is they call it in medicine? Sorry, it took me a second. Evidence-based practice, right? Now, just for those of you who are familiar with medicine and the term evidence-based practice, like, you'll know as well as I do, the minute you hear this, you're like, well, what the heck were you doing before this if it wasn't evidence-based? Voodoo medicine, ooh, witch doctor medicine. Anyway, sorry. It's a medical joke. And Aquarius is very much about experimentation, right? And, pushing the boundaries of things and challenging things to see if this rule really is true, if this really holds water, as it were. So Saturn and Uranus together very much are about science, which we love. Okay. So what does this mean for you, my lovies? Well, isn't that the $65,000 question? Okay. This month, we're going to go back and forth with dates. So this month, around February 4th, we're going to kick the month off with a quarter moon at 16 Scorpio. Now, the 4th, 5th, and 6th are not our happiest days. So I would advise you to keep your sense of humor with you. Do not leave home without it. Try to envision the definition of tolerance and patience, and understand that this may be a stress test as far as your ability to exercise that. That is something to consider these first 3 days of the month around that quarter moon, 4th, 5th, and 6th. These will be challenging days. I got nothing else to add to that except that they're challenging days. So if you have anything that requires the patience of Job or sensitive or anything like that, just understand those are going to be particularly difficult days. And also, too, this quarter moon, it's not exact, but it's still there by sign. It will set up a wide T-square involving Uranus and all those Aquarius planets. So some people may find themselves under fire and being forced to make a decision, and do something. Do something. So the quarter moon, this quarter moon at the very beginning of the month, may be the what is it, the hard line play that says, all right, put up or shut up. That's it. This is the end of the road for you, buddy. Do something. This will be interesting to watch. Now, before I get into the other stuff, there are some other things that are interesting that are happening this month I thought you guys want to know about. So this month, it is the Chinese New Year starts this month around February 12th, just a couple days before Valentine's Day. And this year for Chinese New Year, it is the year of the metal ox. Now, I found this fascinating because in the United States and globally, but certainly here in the United States, one of the things we've recognized with this panoply of planets in Capricorn that rose just a little while ago, some of us recognize that the goddess has risen. She's been rising for a while through all this pushback has been, against women's rights and all the things that mother would stand for, like a good mother would stand for, right? Which is, the survival and care of all of our children now and in the future. It's been under attack. It has been under attack, a lot of pushback, and we're still getting it. Where the old system is still fighting to hang on to what little bit of power it has. So we know the goddess has risen with all these Capricorn planets. The metal ox. I want you to think about this for a second. So what do we have in this country that symbolizes a metal ox? Well, you know what we have? Or the golden calf. We have the Wall Street Bull. So for some of you, I'll try and get a picture in here. For some of you who may not be, I don't know how you would not know about this, but in Wall Street, there was a sculptor who did this amazing sculpture of a bull charging a little girl who was facing it down, right? It was very controversial when it went up. And what is fascinating about this is not only is that the metal ox, right? The same metal ox that it is the year of right now in Chinese New Year. That little girl represents not only the younger generation, but she also represents the goddess. So the year of the metal ox in Chinese astrology, and our sculpture, the bull, the Wall Street Bull facing down the little girl, was an interesting tie-in together about this year in terms of symbols. Also, in Chinese astrology and Taoist medicine, the element metal rules the lungs. So I'm not completely sure how these connections are going to play out, but it's interesting that they're there this year in particular. Now, just a little note about lungs and metal and Chinese New Year and all sort of stuff. So with the Wall Street Bull facing down the younger generations and the goddess, right? GameStop, I would refer you back to the GameStop story just broke the other day, which was just nobody feels sorry for those Wall Street people except themselves. Literally, they're the only people feeling bad for themselves right now. They got hung by their own petard. Nobody's unhappy about it. You did it to yourself. Inconvenient truth and accountability. You're going to have to own your mistakes, boys. So with that, there is also this. I just want to mention also, if I am correct, I could be wrong, but if I'm correct, and this pandemic and this virus specifically has more to do with Neptune than it does Pluto, and a lot of people think that this pandemic has everything to do with Pluto, and all with very good and valid reasons. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I think there are much stronger correlations here with Neptune in this particular case that we're not looking at. And if I am right, this pandemic, we should see some type of breakthrough leading to a resolution finally in May. I could be wrong, but it's something to look forward to. And if I'm right, we're all going to be relieved. So, and that will absolutely confirm that there was a lot more Neptune involved in this than Pluto. And there's a caveat here. So the resolution that leads to a breakthrough for this pandemic for the United States, I don't know where and how this is going to play out in other countries, but here in the United States, if this is Neptune connected, we should also see a resolution leading to breakthrough for us in the United States, which we desperately need because clearly we've got idiots running the country. I'm just saying. Anyway, also, at the end of the video, I'm going to put in a little thing because there's a little goddess story, the highlighted goddess of the month, and a goddess story that goes with this month. And that is going to be the goddess is called the Harpies. The Harpies are the goddesses of winds, right? it's a phenomenal story, and they're also the goddesses of justice, which absolutely all of this ties into this month of February, and also some of this GameStop story that just broke yesterday as we're heading into February. So it's some good stuff. All right. Now, Venus will be in Aquarius most of the month, which is good. So it's good and bad. Or no, it's not bad. It's good and weird, right? So Aquarius is the sign of the weird. And the weirder, the better, my friend. So with Venus and Aquarius, we're going to have, all month long, and all this Aquarius planets, we're going to have very strong emphasis on the two sides of Aquarius. We're going to have the hyper conservative and the hyper eccentric, I guess, depending on which side of the Aquarius line you're on, which is also, by the way, this dual rulership of Saturn and Uranus is also why you get two very different types of Aquarians, not Uranians, but Aquarians. The reason being, Saturnine Aquarians they're the conservatives, kind of stick in the mud if you're the more avant-garde, free-spirited ones. They're more conservative, they're more exacting, they're more science-based, evidence-based practice. And they're very much the personalities that don't like weird stuff and taking chances and all sorts of stuff. And they're very much about, listen, I understand that, but I need to see the data to back that up. That's all fine and well and good, but show me the data, right? These guys, we know who they are. The other side of Aquarius are the Uranian Aquarians. These are the free thinkers, the forward goers, push progress, evolutionaries, right? And these are the ones who are the first ones to try stuff, right? So they're the first ones to join communal living situations, polyamorous relationships, gender bending, pick your pronoun kind of lifestyles, whatever it is that's out there in the future that hasn't been done yet, and nobody's really sure what that is. They're the first ones to jump in and experiment with it. So this is why when you talk about Aquarius, some people are so far removed from what we expect from Aquarius because they're the Saturn ruled Aquarians. And this month, with Venus traveling through Aquarius all month, we can certainly expect more of that, where people divide into, or appear to divide into, two very distinct camps. And that's either the Saturnine camp or the Uranian camp. Personally, I think the Uranians are going to win because we've had quite enough of the Saturn. But there are good things to Saturn. So all that Saturn and Capricorn energy we were dealing with back when Saturn was in Capricorn, we are not out of the woods yet. We're still working through Saturn lessons. This time we're on the other side of it. So it's no longer the Saturn and Capricorn-ish type of Saturnine lessons, but the more forward motion, progressive Saturnine lessons, which has a lot more to do with science and experiments and progress. Now, no horoscope would be complete without discussing the fact that Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is retrograde. Mercury will continue to be retrograde right up until the 21st. And the 20th and February 20th and 21st will also present some very surprising events. Not bad. Well, hopefully not bad, but certainly some interesting, unexpected turns of events. In the meantime, all month long, baby, we're still dealing with Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury retrograde around Valentine's Day. So here's your good news this month, right? Around Valentine's Day and Chinese New Year. Because remember, the Chinese New Year is the 12th, Valentine's Day is 14th. So this little cluster of dates, we've got some really, really nice stuff happening. So Mercury will conjunct Venus and Jupiter, squaring Mars, around the 13th, and it will make an exact conjunct in Jupiter on the 15th. All of these confluence of aspects will create a very positive, pleasurable, uplifting, optimistic feeling for those days. So many of you are guaranteed to have a really nice Valentine's Day. And if you don't have a sweetheart in your life, this is not necessarily a bad time to show your affection or appreciation for other people, even if they're not romantic interests. So this is a really good time to get out there and do something nice and feel good for other people and let them know that you see them. We see you and we're appreciating you. Okay. As we move down through the month, other hotspot days you got to watch are going to be, so after the party, there's the hangover, will be the 17th. Now, the 17th, out of all the days this month, the 17th is the big hotspot day that I'm seeing astrologically. So we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it, but we should be reaching critical mass and have this thing kind of like come out into the open, whatever it's manifesting as around this date, the 17th. Now, this brings me to another thing that I forgot to mention in the very beginning, and that is this. So many of you, even now in the last week of January, moving into February, as I'm doing this horoscope, may have been feeling this, where you're restless and having difficulty focusing, and your body is showing stress responses, upset stomach, not able to keep stuff down, not able to keep stuff in, insomnia, vivid dreams, bad dreams, just, right? So, and while this is happening, you're thinking to yourself consciously, like, there's no reason for, everything's fine, for what it is. There's nothing unusual or new to make this situation worse than it was 2 weeks ago. Why am I suddenly like all kinds of on edge? Darling, I'm here to tell you, you are not crazy. You are not crazy. Remember, all these planets in Aquarius and Uranus ruled sign representing energy means that we are feeling an overabundance of energy. So you're literally being overstimulated. Some of you are going to be more sensitive to this than others. If you are sensitive to these currents, these planetary energies, and especially this month, okay, you're going to be feeling it because it's going to feel like you're like, you know what I mean? And you're not going to have any rational explanation for, like, I shouldn't feel like this. Why am I, my stomach upset all the time? Why am I acting like, things are bothering me? I should be okay. It's not that bad. Why am I having nightmares? Everything's mostly okay. Like, this is not new. And that's why. So the thing to keep in mind when we talk about planets is we are not condemned to act out what the planets tell us, right? So the planets don't compel. However, we are still, part of us is still made from stardust, right? So we are still connected in a very ethereal way that we don't have the science yet to back up to the planets and their behaviors, right? And this is why astrology works, because we're connected. We can see these things play out over and over and over again, even though we don't have the science yet to explain why this is happening. So just like the moon has correlation with tides, right? Ocean tides and water levels around the planet. And also, remember, your physical body is over 90% water. So people who are more sensitive, like people with mental health issues, tend to be more reactive because hormones are also water-based, right? And fat-based, which is water, tend to be more reactive to the changing tides or the changing patterns of the moon, right? And even people who don't have mental health issues will often talk about the fact that, full moons make them feel a certain way, or it's, during the full moons, they get a certain way, right? So none of us are immune from the connection to the moon, right? And it's phases, as it goes around, and us responding in ways that we're not rationally able to control, right? Or explain. So if the moon can do that, there's no reason, that the other planets can't have the same type of influence in terms of their vibration or expression or energy expression, right? The connection, the correlation between them. Again, we don't have the science to back it up, so it's all speculation until then. Now, with that said, as these planets are moving, they all have their own signatures, in energy as they're doing their thing, and we respond to that, right? And if we have planets or sensitive parts in our charts, because of our engineering, like, we may get triggered or have a switch flipped that activates something in correlation with that. This month, because all this high energy, right, as these planets are passing through Aquarius, and we've got the Saturn and Uranus, the co-rulers squaring off each other, really narrowing everything down to a tight space, really amplifying the amount of power in that little bit of real estate that this thing is traveling through. We're feeling it. And so you're going to feel just overstimulated. You're going to feel a lot more energy than you know what to do with it. It may be hard to concentrate or focus. You're not crazy. So you may have been crazy before this, but you're not crazy because of this. You just think you are because you're noticing it. So Um, think about, just as an example, and then I'm going to get into something serious here. So I want you to think about like those overhead power lines around your area, right? If you have internet and you're watching this, you've got overhead power lines out there for the community somewhere. And if you've ever stood underneath a power line when it's really, really quiet, you can hear it hum, right? That like that vibration creates a humming sound emanating from those lines or those cables, right? So people who are familiar with power lines know that when you hear that hum, you know there's a huge amount of power moving through there and you might want to get out of the way, right? It's not something to play with. But in and of itself, if you didn't know any better, it would just seem like a really benign, weird kind of like hum, just like, okay, well, that's interesting. So this month, the tension level that everyone is feeling, oh, my hand is itching. This month, the tension level that we're all feeling is a lot like that humming of those power lines. There's a lot of power that is literally passing through right now through the populace, all of us, all those GameStop fans that shut down Wall Street. There's a tremendous amount of power and tension running through humanity right now. We have the power because we are the power. So that hum, that low level hum, that vibration is like bees, right? If you've ever seen bees clustered together like that, zzz, they make that humming sound, like the vibration. That's what's happening. So we're all feeling it, even if we're not consciously aware of it. And that also means that people who are not part of the great mass of humanity that think that they are somehow stationed above us, right? The beekeeper or, the people that run the power companies and stuff, like no. They're hearing it too, and it's making them very nervous because they're realizing just how vulnerable they are because there are so many more of us than there are of them. And there are enough of us under tension that they can hear the hum too. All right. Now, here's the important part. None of this was to scare you. Here's the important part I want you guys to really pay attention to. If you have loved ones, with all this talk about energy, right? This strong, focused energy. If you have loved ones or you yourself have cardiac dysrhythmia issues or are prone to seizures or any type of nervous system disorder, this is going to be an extremely tough month for you. And may present as having more problems more frequently or with more severity than usual. So what I'm saying is, as an example, if you have cardiac dysrhythmias, like maybe you've got atrial fibrillation, or you wear a pacemaker, or you have to wear a cardiac monitor, a Holter monitor for some reason, anything that involves the electric current in the heart, because it's electric current, okay, it might be overstimulated this month. So if you know somebody who has conditions like this, pay attention, because if they look a little bit off, don't take for granted that they're just looking a little bit off. Something may be seriously wrong, and you want to stay on top of that this month in particular. And the reason, and this is different from obstruction. So this is different from having an obstructed artery in the heart or something like that. And the reason is this. In your heart, you have 4 chambers. This is your medical lesson for the day. In your heart, you have 4 chambers. And each of those chambers runs like spark plugs in an engine. They run in a specific sequence and a specific rhythm. So they have to fire on time in sequence. So it's dun, 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 like drum beats, right? There's a rhythm that has to happen, and they have to follow sequence. If, like the spark plugs in a car, one of those things stops firing the way they're supposed to, right? Like it throws the thing off. And eventually, with enough cycles of this thing misfiring, all of them start going like haywire and then go spastic, right? And that's when the heart goes crazy and you're having a heart attack. People who have electrical conduction issues with their heart, all right, are more prone to this overstimulation and over surplus of energy we're dealing with this month. So I'm not saying that they're going to have heart attacks. I'm not saying that they're going to have, some type of fibrillation. What I am saying is that if they're looking a little peaked or a little weird, this is not the month to take it for granted. So follow up on it as quickly as you can, because it may very well be something that's going to happen very, very quickly that we hopefully could have avoided the worst effects of if we had paid a little more attention and understood that this is a special month. Okay, just all you need to know, this is a special month. So pay attention. Now, with nervous system disorders, and here's the other part of your medical lesson. With nervous system disorders, the thing to understand is that your nervous system includes your brain, this big, wonderful, fat ball of nerve tangles, right, is your brain, and it's all electricity, right? Your central nervous system, your spinal cord, all the nerves that come out to the surface of your skin that allow you to have sensation, right? These are all nerves, all right? And nerves are run by electricity. Your body is an electricity producing machine. Your body produces electricity not by plugging into a wall socket. Your body produces electricity by chemical conduction. So there are chemical reactions happening between cells that literally create the electricity necessary for the nervous system to relay information from one nerve to another. So literally from all of your senses up to your brain, this is all chemicals and chemically induced electrical signal or charge that's sending this information back and forth like on a loop. Your body's an amazing, amazing machine. So the thing about it is, because this is the biggest electrical component we have in our body, right? It's literally a tangle of nerves, and all those nerves are electrical charges or full of electric charge. This month, with this over surplus of energy, it's also possible that people who are prone to nervous system issues like seizures, okay, or Parkinson's, which is neuromuscular, and things of that nature may be more prone to more frequent or more severe episodes where the nervous system conduction has gone all kinds of haywire on you. So again, pay attention and don't take for granted that this is just another month. This is a very, very special month, and we want to stay on top of that. And I'm not saying any of this to scare you. I'm just trying to save you guys some additional grief that you don't need this month. Just saying. All right. And let's see. And that pretty much covers the month. Now, before I forget, I also want to point out that what we just did is not medical astrology. It's not. And just so you know, so we're on the same page, I don't support in or believe in medical astrology. If you are sick, or you think you're sick, or you're worried about your health, I personally will advocate that you should go to your doctor. Your doctor has spent many more years learning medicine and human body and chemistry and all the things that go into making you safe, healthy, and whole than any astrologer from anywhere, no matter how long you've been practicing. So this is not medical astrology. I do not advise using astrology for medical purposes, and I would be very skeptical and leery of people who purport that you can do that. I wouldn't go to my plumber to fix my electricity in my wall. I'm not going to an astrologer for my medical issues. I'm just saying, you of course can make your own decisions. All right, so this brings us to the end of the video, and now we're going to talk about the story of the Harpies. The Harpies is a story from Greek mythology. These creatures are half woman, half bird. So the top half is the face and upper body of a woman, and the rest of the body is the body of a bird. How these creatures came into existence, there's a couple of different origin stories, but ultimately they were created by Zeus to do Zeus's bidding in retaliation to someone who had betrayed their responsibility and debt that they owed to Zeus for what he had given them. So apparently Zeus had given a particular king, I think it was King Phineas, the gift of prophecy. So Phineas was able to see ahead into the future things that mortal men could not see. Along with that, Phineas was able to see the plan of God, or Zeus. Okay. Now, what happened after that is that Phineas decided to use his gift of prophecy for personal gain. So he used his vision and sudden enlightenment and awareness of what Zeus's plans were to try and make personal gain with it. This was not part of the agreement and his responsibility with this gift when Zeus gave it to him. Needless to say, Zeus became enraged. So Zeus created the Harpies to go and get King Phineas and take him to his punishment. So these bird women, these creatures, came down and snatched King Phineas up to take him to Hades, or Tartarus, which is hell, right? To be tortured for the rest of his days. While Phineas was down there, Zeus, I don't think it was Zeus, I think it was the ruler of the underworld, he was blinded. So every day, food would be brought to him, and every day, the Harpies would come down and snatch the food away before he had a chance to eat it. So he could tell and smell and knew the food was there, but he could never get it. So in this way, he was tortured for the rest of eternity as his punishment for trying to use his vision for personal gain, as well as betraying the trust and responsibility he had to the gods, who had given him this gift under conditions. Now, the Harpies are associated with wind, birds, wind, and also the Harpies are also known as the Snatchers, because they are reported to snatch people and things away into oblivion without warning, for these things never to return and reappear. They're also called the dogs of Zeus because they specifically serve the purposes and needs of justice for Zeus, the god. And what they do is they go and they snatch wrongdoers up and take them to hell and torture them on the way down and torture them while they're there. So this is what the Harpies do. This month of February, the Harpies are at play. So it will be interesting to see how these things play out. And also, what's also interesting about the Harpies is originally the Harpies were described as beautiful women with the bodies of birds. And later, as the stories got retold, they changed it to old women with the bodies of birds. And then it became monsters with the bodies of birds. So what's interesting is the transition of young, beautiful women to old women being the kind of people you should be afraid of, right? Because we should never be afraid of young, beautiful women. And then, of course, these old women becoming monsters. So there's this evolution and devaluation of womanhood as she ages, as these stories get told through the centuries, with things like creatures like the Harpies. Also, what's important to understand about this is that the Harpies are a reminder that not all womanhood is light perfume and flowers, right? So when we talk about the goddess, we're not always talking about, playing lyres and having flowers thrown at us, perfumed silks and wine and all this sort of beautiful beauty things. The goddesses, just like the gods, represent power and use and or misuse of power and how it is dealt with accordingly. So this month, with Aquarius and high winds, and also almost forgot to, the Harpies are associated with strong winds. That's what the connection was. Strong winds, gale winds, storm winds, these high whipping winds over the ocean that send sailors to their death because they capsize boats. The Harpies are associated with that. So that's my story about the Harpies. And I thought that was interesting. So you might want to look them up because it's some interesting reading. And the final thing that I definitely want to give you guys has a lot to do with mental and physical health this month. So as we've been discussing through the whole video, we know that, this heavy preponderance of Aquarius planets and Uranus energy is an overstimulation of energy, and we're all feeling a little Fruit Loopy right now. And certainly many people will feel like they're on a crazy train this month. And the thing with Aquarius and being on the crazy train is it's different from other experiences, because Aquarians, because that Saturn-Uranus rulership in their sign, can be a little OCD, right? If you know Aquarians, you'll see this, right? And it doesn't matter which one of them they are, Saturn or Uranus, they both have this quality where when they decide that they're right about something, that's it. You're not going to change your mind. And it literally doesn't matter how insane the logic is, right? And I've got some examples, but I won't bring them up here because the person I'm talking about will know who I'm referring to. But they sometimes they'll get on these logic loops that make absolutely no sense to anybody but themselves, and they will not be convinced otherwise. Literally will not be convinced otherwise. QAnon is a classic example, and conspiracy theorists right? Like, these people get into these little squirrely tunnels in their head, and that's the only thing they're going to listen to. So no matter how insane and poor the logic is, they don't care. They're right. As far as I'm concerned, they're right. You don't know what you're talking about, and this is what it is. So that kind of Fruit Loop, circus train, crazy train in the brain, right? This is what we can see. I know you just wanted to hear this, right? You're going to see a lot more of that in friends and family this month. So be gentle with them. Don't push that button, because once you get them started, they're off they go, right? And this month, especially, with a lot more energy than usual. So all of this is to say that right now we're all prone to it. We are all prone to the Fruit Loop thinking, right? Which is, big squirrely circles on our brain, right? And we're making complete sense to ourselves, but nobody else. Understand that this may be you too, right? So you may be prone to this. With that said, management of your mental health is very, very important this month. So, you may or may not be having a nervous breakdown. You may or may not be having a nervous breakdown, and it may or may not be completely justified and driven by external circumstances. The most important thing, though, is when it comes to nervous breakdowns, what matters is how we handle it and how we keep ourselves from completely falling apart. So understand that this is a distinct possibility and manage your mental health as best you can, and understand that everyone right now is prone to getting on the crazy train in the brain. And that includes you, right? So if people are trying to tell you, dude, like, I'm just saying, maybe you should consider a different way of thinking. There's a reason for it. So check yourself, check yourself and be open to the possibility that you might have, slipped a few cogs here. It happens. It's been a long damn 4 years, longer in the last year than ever. Now, with that said, also with your physical health, it's just going to be difficult. If you can go burn some of this energy off, burn some of this energy off. Here's the real secret, though, to getting through this month with your sanity intact. All right. And trust me when I tell you, this is the life-saving secret. When we have a bunch of planets, right, leaning in one sign, right, it tends to weigh heavy in that one direction. So imagine that we're all on a ship, right, and you've got all this weight on the one side of the ship, right? So now we're all going like, oh my God, wait, come back, right? So what do people do? They immediately start running back the other direction to try and get the ship right? We're trying to counterbalance because we've got way too much weight here, right? So we're going to try and lean to the other side to bring that weight back so we don't capsize. It's the same thing this month. So when you look at this, think about the fact that the opposite side of Aquarius is Leo. Now, we're all probably going to instinctively feel like we want to gravitate to Leonine things, but the most important thing is that we understand what we're doing here. Because if you understand what you're doing, it's easier to make use of it. So Leo, if you listen, if you just learned astrology last week, Leo is the sign of vanity and ego. If you actually understand astrology, what you also know is that Leo is the sign of love received. Love given. So Aquarius and Leo are both two sides of a coin, right? Leo is the sign of love given. Aquarius is the sign of love received. And the difference is this: if you know Aquarians or Uranians even, they have to be the sign or the planet of love received from other people, because if they weren't receiving copious amounts of love from people around them, we'd have all killed them by now out of frustration. Leo is the sign of love given. It's joy, creativity, performance, drama, speculation, and also love given. Now, we typically think of Leo as a sign of romance and creativity, but it's really about giving love. And here's how this is going to make sense for you. So when performers perform, dancers, singers, actors, when they perform in that way, they're giving from their heart, right? This performance is coming from the heart, and they're giving it to whoever is willing to receive it. So whether it's an audience of one or an audience of millions, it doesn't make a difference. What matters is that they have an audience willing to receive what they're trying to share with them. That's love given. And when you see or hear or witness to really outstanding performances, what do people always say? They say that was the most heartfelt performance I've ever seen, heard, witnessed, experienced, right? That was a truly genuine performance. So while you can certainly give performance for purely vanity and ego function, right? And we've seen it, we know it, it's empty, it's hollow, right? When people are doing things just because they want attention, because they want you to love them, right? Give me your attention and love. We know, we can feel it, and it rings hollow, right? Or it may not if you're not paying attention. But when people are really giving from their heart, when it's a heartfelt performance, we feel it. That's the kind of stuff that just really gets you, right? And remember, for that performer, it's not about how big their audience is or who's in the audience. None of that matters. What matters is that there's an audience willing to receive what they're giving. That's love given. And this is the antidote to getting through this month with your mental health intact. Find something in your life that you love, that you want to share with other people, that you could share with other people. Something small and, most important, meaningful to you. It cannot have anything to do with money or success or status or any of this vanity and ego-driven stuff. It has to be something from the heart where you're expressing your love, your joy, your creativity to the world. Put your energy into that. Find that thing in your life that you haven't paid attention to in a long time and get involved in that. If you can do that, that's going to help keep this overloading of Aquarius planets and balance the ship, right? So it doesn't matter. Like if you're a karaoke fan, right? This might be a great time to start looking at singing lessons or really looking at improving your singing, doing online stuff where you can find for free if you need to, right? If you're somebody who's always dreamed of being an applauded cook or chef, right? You know, somebody who's, you know, known and regarded for their culinary efforts, right? This would be a great time to get back in and doing your baking or your cooking or your gastronomical experience, whatever it is that you wanted to do and you just haven't had the time for, or you just haven't really had the confidence to get into because you weren't sure it was going to be well received, right? If you're a writer, then write. If you're a talker, then talk. Whatever, if you're a seamstress or a crafty person, then do that. Whatever those things are, pick that little thing that really warms your heart, that you love yourself. Even if it never makes any money, you love it. And put your energy into that and stay with it through the month, because that is going to help you keep your sanity. And here's the big secret, since you guys have gotten this far in the video. The other things with all this Aquarius planets, right, and all this stuff going on, what you may find is that from that little seed, because remember, Uranus and Aquarius is erratic energy. It goes off in all sorts of directions, unpredictably. We have no way of determining ahead of time which direction Uranian energy is going to go, because it's got its own divine plan. It is a transpersonal planet. You may find that whatever this little thing is that you've unearthed again and that really makes your heart warm, that you really get back into, may lead you in completely unexpected directions in the future that will lead you to things that will bring you more happiness than you thought possible. And it may have nothing to do with what you started, or it may be a complete unexpected departure and direction with this thing that you love. Whatever it is in that seed of love and meaning that this has for you, in the future, there is the promise and potential of greater happiness in your life as a result of getting back into this thing than you thought possible right now. So don't deny yourself this opportunity while it's serving the double duty of helping you keep your sanity. And that, my friends, is the February horoscope. We're almost an hour now, so I'm not going to keep you on here much longer. I had a whole thing set up with the charts of China and the United States. In the United States, just a brief cliff note sidebar. The United States, this is a month. This is quite the month. Time of reckoning. Remember that, folks. This is a time of reckoning. And also with China, China is going to be on a huge upswing starting this month with their Chinese Lunar New Year and moving forward through the year. So China is about to become a major, major global player, which isn't to say that they're going to be a threat to us. So all of you xenophobes out there or anti-Asians, like just calm yourself and unbunch your shorts. They've worked hard for this. They have, just like India and other countries, they all work hard to get to a place of strength and power where they can sit at the negotiation table and get something done. So this is their year. They're on an upswing. As far as what else happens in terms of culture and country, that's a whole other conversation. But they will be making headlines and news over the next couple of months as well, starting with this month. So that's it. So remember, mental health, physical health, keep your wits about you, and understand that everybody is prone to getting on the crazy train this month, including you. So do your best to mind that, and let's get through it. Otherwise, it's going to be a relatively quiet month, lots of high tension wire activity. So there's that hum of powerful energy surging the lines that we can't see or really measure just exactly how much tension and power is traveling through those lines, but it's there, and it is the populace. It is us. We are the power. All right, talk to you guys later. And no video is complete without the reminder to like, subscribe, and share. And as a special bonus for you guys who have watched all of this, is a potato chip, by the way. For those of you who've gotten this far and actually watched us all the way through to the end, if we can get 100 either subscribers or comments on this video, I will put together and put out specifically a horoscope that is the Chinese astrology and the Western astrology combined for all the signs. So if you're interested, let's have a little fun. This is, I guess, a contest or a game. And let's see if we can hit that 100 mark. Either subscribers or comments. And if we can hit that, I will absolutely put together a special edition East meets West horoscope using the Chinese astrology and the Western astrology for all 12 signs. All right, talk to you guys later.